Hello, I'm Helen Ormoyle, co-founder of my Menopause Centre, and I'm joined today by Dr. Clare Spencer, fellow founder of my Menopause Centre. And October 10th is World Mental Health Day. And we thought this was a really good time to talk about how the menopause transition can impact a woman's mental health. I know, Claire, I was really surprised as I spoke to you about the symptoms of the menopause when I started going through the menopause transition, that things like anxiety, depression, mood changes, lack of motivation, and ultimately, a loss in confidence and self-esteem can all be related to the fluctuation that we see in hormones. Am I one of the few women who are surprised by this, or how do you find it with the patients you see in our practice?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're alone, Helen. And I think it's not so widely spoken about. So people know about hot flushes and night sweats, but often people don't realize that the fluctuation in hormones of the menopause and the ultimate drop in the hormone levels can also cause issues like anxiety and low mood. And so what I'll really commonly hear in the clinic and when you talk to other women is things like never felt anxious in their life and suddenly really sweating the small details of life, anxious about things that they'd never in a million years been anxious about before. So, for example, things like driving down the motorway, even, or going out, or giving a presentation at work, which wouldn't have caused any worry previously, suddenly causing sort of palpitations and real deep seated concerns. And it sort of creeps up on you. Sometimes it hits people for six out of the blue, but it can just slowly creep into your life. So that's something I hear really commonly. And also people are often surprised at the flatness in their moods. So they'll say to me they just feel like there's no joy in their life, that they've lost their mojo, that they've lost their va room. And I think one of the issues with the timing of the perimenopause, the menopause transition, that there's lots going on in life, isn't there, at that time? And people just feeling like they've just lost their resilience as well. So again, going back to what I said, you might go through life usually being able to just sort everything, deal and cope with lots of different things, juggle lots. But then in the menopause transition, suddenly lose that ability, or be really hit for six by life events that you might have coped with really well before. So I would absolutely say women are surprised, but it's a really common presentation, really common symptom that people are experiencing.
Yeah, and Claire, what is it about our hormones or the changes in estrogen that can trigger these symptoms?
Yeah, it's really complicated, but I think the key take home message is that there are physical symptoms, there are physical changes in your brain causing you to feel like this. It's not suddenly that, you just suddenly can't cope. It's because there are changes in your brain. That loss of estrogen is probably the most important thing that causes loss of or decrease in levels of hormones in your brain like serotonin, which is the happy hormone. There are lots of different chemical changes in the brain to cause the symptoms.
Yeah, and I think I certainly found that very reassuring to know that you're not going mad, or you don't have dementia. It's there are changes that are happening in your body, and once you understand that, then you can start looking at, so what are the things that you can do about it to treat it, I suppose. And what would your advice, Claire, be? What are the different things that women should consider doing or thinking about if they are experiencing symptoms such as anxiety or depression or low mood?
Yeah, I think it's different for every single woman, and it's finding the right way through for you. So for some it will be just making some brain space like yoga and meditation. For others, like I really love running and I find that's a really good way of clearing my brain. It wouldn't be for everybody, but so exercise is a really good way. There's lots of really good evidence that cognitive behavioral therapy, talking therapies, can be really helpful in trying to sort out how you're feeling and just unpick everything that's going on. Um, for some women, antidepressants might be the way forward, but actually, if your mood symptoms, if your anxiety is related to the menopause, then the evidence is that HRT is likely to be more effective than taking antidepressants. So again, in the clinic, I hear of lots and lots of women who've gone to the GPs with these symptoms and been started on antidepressants and not had a conversation about HRT, and actually get settled on HRT, and just that replenishing of estrogen, just that stabilizing, leveling out of hormones can be really super helpful for just taking the edge off the anxiety and just raising mood. HRT won't be for everybody, and that's why I say I do think it's important to look at all the options and find your own way through this, but lots of different ways that to get through it. You do not have to suffer. There are lots of positive things that you can do.
Yeah, okay, look, that's really helpful. So I guess what you're calling out is there isn't a silver bullet, really. It's down to your life, your lifestyle, things that I suppose give you joy or give you pleasure. But certainly looking at lifestyle, looking at exercise is so important. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga can be great as well for creating some headspace. HRT, you've mentioned, can be a really good a solution to give you a strong foundation from which to build on. And obviously talking therapies, one of the things that I found really helpful is just my friends, chatting to my friends and getting the support from the girlfriends, I suppose, in my life. So I suppose investing in friendships is a kind of a practical thing to do as well. And I know there are a lot more conversations going on now, which are really welcome, around support for women going through the menopause in the workplace, because we know from the research we've looked at that the symptoms that can often impact most at work are around cognitive function, I suppose, and mental health and well-being. So any thoughts or any experiences that you can share around support for women in the workplace? Because I know, a lack of confidence or a loss of confidence and self-esteem can be quite devastating. But as I say, employers are really sitting up now and paying attention and doing more in this space.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Hand in hand with low mood can become complete loss of self-esteem, loss of confidence, and then feed into that anxiety and low mood as a consequence. So you get into this vicious cycle. So I think anything you can do to break the vicious cycle, particularly in the workplace, as you say, Helen, it's a really good point. So I think talking to your manager, line manager, colleagues, it's just, what can you do to stop worrying about it? And again, everybody will have their own solution. Are there practical ways around this? Are there different ways of working? Are there adaptations in the workplace? I think more and more companies now, we've seen it, haven't we, are creating menopause policy. And it's worth finding out what that is and what does it say, what are you entitled to. It's definitely having the conversation and not suffering in silence. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, Claire. And I think having those conversations, so finding out if your company has a menopause policy, having the conversation with your line manager or with the HR department, or if you have an occupational health function, is key, because again, I think HRT, exercise, lifestyle can be really helpful. But I think for everyone, really making sure you're getting a good night's sleep. And if, night sweats are part of the challenge, getting a good night's sleep, there are things you can maybe do to speak to your employer about more flexibility in when you start. So if you do need to sleep a bit longer in the morning, you come into work well rested.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I should have said before as well was I talked to loads of women who are self-medicating in a way with alcohol, to take the edge off the worry, to take the edge off anxiety. And alcohol can be a bit of a killer on your sleep, can't it? Hot flushes can become worse, quality of sleep decreases, and alcohol can really feed into low mood and anxiety as well. So yeah, absolutely. Getting a good night's sleep is key, because if you don't sleep, you feel worse. Anxiety can be worse. So alcohol isn't the only thing, obviously, and won't apply to lots of women, but it is one small change that you could look at making. We've written quite a lot on sleep. It's a recurrent issue and feeds into lots of different symptoms that women experience in the menopause transition. And it might be worth just having a look on the website and seeing, having a look at our top tips for sleep, as well as anxiety and as well as depression.
Yeah, okay, great. So I suppose if we wrap up the discussion, essentially what we've discussed and the top tips that you shared, I suppose the first thing is, if you are, as you think about mental health and well-being on World Mental Health Day, one, if this is something that you're experiencing, you're not alone. While it might not be spoken about, very many women experience symptoms such as depression, anxiety, mood changes, loss of confidence and self-esteem, mood swings, low mood. You're really not alone, and there are things that you can do about it. Everything from fitness, exercise, life stage, cutting down or cutting out on alcohol, having a chat with your doctor about HRT, talking to your friends, making sure that you're having the right conversations with your employer. There are lots of things that you can do to really help yourself, and reach out, because you're not alone. We've got lots of great advice and information on the website if you'd like to look at any of these in any of more detail under our symptom checker, and we've some blogs on these topics as well. So thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you found that useful. Thank you again, Claire. Bye-bye.
Bye.